Today I wanted to talk about a mending stitch that you can do on pretty much any sewing machine. It's easiest if you can sew in reverse as well as forward, so permanent reverse. Otherwise you have to hold the reverse button down. Or if it doesn't have reverse at all, you can spin your fabric around, which works. However, this Husqvarna Viking has a built-in mending stitch, and I'll show you two ways of either using that, a way of using that stitch, or as an alternative as well of just doing it manually, because it works just fine. So the first thing that's really important when you're doing your mending is, I found this really very successful, is to use a bit of interfacing. So this is very, very, very lightweight interfacing. Well, it's very, you can see, through it's woven. It's very easy to tear like that, and it's quite fuzzy. So it needs to be that type, and I'll show you why after. But ultimately, what you want to do is put this is fusible, so there's a right and wrong side. And what you want to do is to put this on the back, the wrong side of the fabric, and lay to hold your fabric exactly where you want it, and then press it in place. So we'll do it. I'll show you a trick. We'll show you doing that in a second. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut one hole there, and I've started it because this is very, very bright. So I've cut one hole there using scissors, and this one I started with scissors. It's a very high thread count sheeting, so it's extremely difficult to tear, but I started it with it, and you can see it's sort of a frayed edge now. So I'm going to prepare this and show you why we want the stabilizer. Okay, so here we are with my handy dandy little mini iron, which I love a lot. And the glue side up, the adhesive side up, so I can just put my torn fabric on there. Now, when you notice it's a perfect cut, it's very easy to just hold the iron there. And you don't need to do more really than just where the tear is, and then you can hold it together very well. Now this one, it's a little more difficult, but it's the same deal. We'll just stick the fusible interfacing to it so that it holds on just as little bit as you can. You can just use the tip of the iron. You don't want to necessarily need to stick any more than that, just around the actual tear. And that will hold it in place for the stitching. So this is what it looks like before we go in. So you can see it's a lot better already. And now we'll go off to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're in front of the sewing machine, and what I'm going to do is demonstrate. I'm going to turn the speed down just to make it a little easier. And I've been doing embroidery, I just realized I haven't got my foot controller plugged in. So I'll plug this in now. There we are. Okay. And what we want to do is I'm going to do the cut as opposed to the tear manually. So you can either do it a very similar way to the way the machine does it, which is start in left needle position and then gradually move it over, or just move it over yourself. That works just fine. But what is really important is you want to reduce the stitch length to the smallest you can achieve, or 0.5, 0.4 stitches. That's really what you want per millimeters. So it's something like 25 to 30 stitches per inch. Now what you want to do is, starting just before the tear, try and line it up with the grain. That helps a lot. Even though it seems imperfect, you'll see you get better results. And then what you want to do, yeah, that looks good. Just go forward a bit. Okay. And in this case, you can either go the whole length of the damage in one go, which I will in this case. Just go past the cut. And make sure it goes slightly long beyond it. And now what we want to do is sew in permanent reverse just beside the stitching which we did. And it is a little difficult to do this because it's difficult to see where the original stitching was. Okay, and go forward again. This is where the needle position makes it a lot easier because your good machines will feed perfectly straight. So you have to make sure you angle the foot slightly so you're sewing beside it. And sew in permanent reverse. So this takes a while because you're sewing incredibly finely. But you can do this with any machine, it's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you rebuild and sew over the holes or where the tear was. So I've done this on my brother, just exactly the same way, but you have to hold the reverse down, which is less convenient than being able to sew permanent reverse. But any of my vintage singers will do it as well, because they all have reverse on them. So what we'll do is move in close so you can see where I've done and where I haven't done. So let's see. So you can see as I stitched over there, and you can see it's very good. Then I didn't do that bit there, and you can see the tear, and then I did that bit down there. So if you do it perfectly, over and over and over again, you'll end up with that look, which is really good. Okay, now we'll try the next one, which is the automatic. Okay, so on this machine, the automatic is stitch 15. Okay, and I get a little flicky flashy light there saying hit the reverse button. And this is how it works. So we do whoop, strange. How did I do that? Okay, spot the obvious error. Had the straight stitch plate on for embroidery. Duh. Amateur error hour. This. Okay, so as we were, so this automated one, that way, you can go either way, as long as you're 90 degrees with the fabric. There we are. Okay, so start sewing, do this slowly, and when we get to the bottom we'll play this reverse. Moves position. And then it automatically does it. You speed it up a bit. You just want to make sure you keep the fabric straight. Let the machine do it for you. I set this for quite a long repair, a lot longer than I need to, just for fun. And when it gets to the width of the foot, it will just stop. There we are. Done. So if I want to continue on with the next bit, I can do so. So let me show you the difference. So that's the automatic repair. So it shows a bit of stitch. And that's the manual repair, where you do it as tight as you can. 0.5, I did that with 0.5 millimeters, just back and forth and back and forth. So it works very well. But I said I would save the best for last. So why this? Well, the reason is because you can just literally pull this off of the fabric when you're done. And it doesn't leave any mess. So what you can see is from the back, that's the repair I did manually, and that's the repair that's automatic. So both have merit. That's for a larger weave, but for a very fine weave like this, it becomes nearly invisible, and it's a very good fix. So I hope you found that interesting.